In the Wild West world of podcasting, there is one podcast that is authentic and genuine and continues to stand tall in its originality. Based on a passion for his guests, their work, and his love of podcasting, Derek Thomas and Monday Morning Critic Podcast get amazing, diverse, unique guests found nowhere else. The variety and quality are endless. There is something for everyone. Derek Thomas is the hero you deserve. He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector. Welcome to Monday Morning Critic Podcast. Here is Derek Thomas.
Does it ever feel like everyone's got more going than you do?
Oops.
That everyone is smart?
So you're Al Myers' kid.
Yes, I am.
You look pretty stupid to me.
Thank you.
You say the best skier in town just ran off with your girlfriend? Even your younger brother does better than you do? And that nobody even cares?
Beth broke up with me.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, you might be right. Oh! But remember one thing.
I haven't even been to New York City.
Nobody was ever better off dead.
The truth is, I could outski you any day of the week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you want a race? I'll take you on any day, sucker.
Go that way, really fast. If something gets in your way, turn.
All you need is guts.
All right, now turn.
I'm gonna race, I'm gonna lose, and I'm gonna die, in that order.
Go.
And you'll never doubt yourself again.
He's skiing on one ski.
Better off dead.
And that's a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
An abnormal look at a normal teenager.
My next guest is a wonderfully talented actor. Her filmography includes Amityville 2, The Last American Virgin, Better Off Dead, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and so much more. She has done a lot, and she is still doing a lot. Please welcome the wonderful Diane Franklin. Diane, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Pleasure to be here.
So I will not reveal what we talked about off air, but I will say this, and I've interviewed many actors. You are, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, one of the most passionate actors I've ever had the opportunity to interview. You are very sincere. You come from the heart. And I genuinely mean that, Diane.
Thank you for noticing. Seriously, I actually am a little choked up by that because I've never heard that before. Like, you always like, oh, I liked you in this movie or whatever. But the fact that you acknowledge how passionate I am and that acting means a lot to me, I really take that to heart. Thank you so much.
All the interviews you've done, and I told you off here, that I've watched many of them. And I turned to my wife when I was doing this research, guys, doing it for multiple days. I'm like, she just loves being an actor. Like, she just loves it. And I don't think obviously people love what they do. I get that. But I think it came beaming from you. So I won't try to choke you up too much, but that comes from the heart, though.
Thank you. And when you say it, honestly, like it just speaks to me on such a deep level because I know that there are other people out there who dream of being actors, or they're young and they've always wanted to be an actor. And I think it's just sometimes we lose sight as we get older of what our passion is and what we love. And it could be anything, aside from acting, it could be art or music or, whatever. And I always felt like, why do we, as we grow up, when we have more ability to make it happen, give up going after our dreams and pursuing our interests in that way, whether it be in a big scale or small scale. I just never, I tell you, since I was a kid, I was like, why do people just stop going and, pursuing what they want? So like, I just keep trying to pursue it just because now I'm kind of going, I have the time, my kids are older. So now I really was there for my kids, raising them. But now I have more time. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. Why not? So I think it's, I hope that others use this as inspiration. And
it's another thing, Diane, too, to be successful for so long as you have. You're still a working actor, right? So we could just talk about your success early on and as of late, but that time span of how long you've been good and how long, like, not many people can be a working actor at all, never mind for the amount of time you've been doing it. It's a really rare thing. It's a huge accomplishment, Diane.
Thank you again. Thank you for noticing. Wasn't that crazy? Like, thank you for actually saying that. And by the way, this is just, I know, like, look, I mean, this is like the compliment fest, but I just want to say, I don't hear that. So like, people might say, oh, you look pretty, whatever. I don't know. Sometimes I just take it with a grain of salt. I go, oh, well, there's a lot of beautiful people, and I'm, for whatever it is, I go, okay, that's nice. But what I find fascinating about this conversation and what you're saying is, I never saw myself as successful. I think that's the funny part. Like, people go, oh, you're successful. Oh, you're an icon. Oh, and I never saw myself that way. I always went, well, I'll get there someday, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I keep pursuing it. I keep moving forward. And also I know that, what I did when I was younger are in the hearts of a lot of people, because that is when you were growing. A lot of people grow up and they watch those movies, and it kind of it explains things it reminds them of their childhood or their teenage years. So those films in the 80s that I did, I think are very valuable, because they bring you back to a time where now as an adult, you might look at it and go, oh, wow, like I was so young then, or maybe I went through that, or that reminds me when I was of that age, and then for people who are watching it for the first time now, they're going to be like, whoa, that's what was going on in the 80s. Like, it's so different than what was happening today. So I think that it is extremely interesting that, like, my career is still working. I mean, I'm still working, and then that is, I mean, to me, that's successful, keep working, but I never thought of success. I thought of, and bring this back to the beginning, the love of doing, the love of the action of doing. And for me, and I think this is what I think is exciting about my career, is I have always been interested in interesting characters and stretching myself. So you might see me in a very highbrow film. You might see me in a very low budget film. You might see me in a television thing or a comedy or a commercial or anything, because you just never know what's going to pop up. And a video, like a music video, because I'm interested in the work, in the character work. So I think that's what makes my career interesting, is that I'm not just one thing. I'm many aspects, and I think that's what makes an actor.
No, that's well said. And I mentioned I watched you in many interviews, and just for research purposes, and I like learning from interviews. I feel like you can learn from everybody's interview, and I felt like the one theme that, and this is not a knock on anybody, but I felt like your life was deeper than 3 or 4 films. Listen, I'm going to ask you about those 3 or 4 films that have changed many lives, but I feel like your body of work encompasses and is a little deeper than 3 or 4 films. And again, I'm not trying to pour on the accomplishments, but or the compliments.
Keep coming.
But no, I do.
My good ear, and you can say it all. Okay,
but we're going to touch upon a lot of what you've done. That is obviously those wonderful milestones and achievements, but also you've done some pretty impressive things outside of those things. So that needs to be recognized as well, Diane.
Derek, I'm telling you, you got it. I'm getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. You got to be there. Because I don't know if anyone could do it as good as you. This is amazing. I'm truly touched. Thank you.
So let me ask you, so you grew up in Plainville, New York. How long do you spend there? And as a second question, talk to me about what it was like growing up. We talked a little bit about parenting off air. Talk to me about what it was like growing up and whatever you want to say about your childhood.
Plainview. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plainview.
Yeah. Plainview. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just figured for clarity. Plainview, Long Island, Plainview, New York. So growing up, I was a lower middle class from an immigrant parents. And I was raised as an only child. And my parents were older. My parents were in their 40s when they had me. And so, and by the way, if anyone is interested, I have a book that tells more details on all of this stuff I'm telling you online, The Most Excellent Adventures book. But anyway, we'll talk about that if you want to. But so I started wanting to act at 4 years old. I watched TV and I was inspired by television. And I know that there's a lot of wonderful actors who were inspired by film, and perhaps more so inspired. A lot of actors are inspired by their desire, but also like, you know, they might think, ooh, I want to act because, you know, that's where the money is, or like, you know, that's something that maybe, you know, or I don't know, there are probably parents who are like, I want to get my kid in because I want to pay for their college education. You know, honestly, it has to come from the kid, really. I mean, otherwise if that child does not want to do it, seriously, people, don't do that. It's not okay. Like, kids have to want it. But anyway, so I wanted to be an actor, and from the get-go. My parents, they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. What is this acting thing? You know, I don't understand what is all this. So it definitely didn't come from them. But you know, I was that kid who danced and sang in the living room to music, you know, and in my own world, and performing for this. My parents nobody would even be in the room, and I'd be doing this. So you can tell when your child is into it, or maybe they're performing in front of you, and certainly that's definitely a key note. So my parents knew nothing about the entertainment business, and so I grew up. When I was 4 years old, my parents took me to a manager or an agent, and the agent said my hair was too short and curly, and I should come back when it grew out, and I could straighten it. And so that was it. So I didn't know any different. I'm a little kid, so I didn't even know what was happening. I'm just like, are we doing it yet? You know, I don't know. Is it happening? And so my parents were like, okay, well, so, you know, as most parents are, they're like, sometimes a parent is like, okay, is this just a phase? But from the age of 4 to 10 years old, I kept showing my desire and my demonstration of my performing. So I took ballet, I got on toe, I was singing, I did school plays. I took any opportunity that I could. I did like plays at the library. Like, I mean, I went to a regular public school. It was nothing glamorous, and I just showed my interest. Okay. And I think that's really important for people who want to be in the entertainment business. Don't just say it. You got to find it. You got to look for it. You know, I mean, I think I was probably asking my mom or looking if I saw something having to do with performing. I went to her and I said, you know, I want to participate. I want to be part of this. So, and that's not to say it's easy. You know, this is something, and again, stamina. How do you become an actor? Stamina, you know, going after it. And so my childhood was I didn't have any privilege. I didn't have any money privilege, but I did have parents who listened to me. And my parents, we also had a great love of nature. They took me on vacations once a year. You know, and it would be like something local. It was not, you know, maybe it was not a big dramatic, you know, trip to Paris or, you know, anything like that. But it was definitely, they gave me some exposure. And my dad used to take me to the opera.
Wow.
In New York. He did take me to the opera once in a while. I remember going in when I was really little. I used to fall asleep in the opera, New York City Opera. I would be like, they'd be like, ah! And I'd be like, you know, and so, it's time to sleep. Okay. So, but I did get that exposure, and, it was just so, it was great. You know, I think I have to say that my childhood was, in most cases, I was exposed to culture, but I wasn't. I wasn't a privileged kid, and so from that, I stayed very humble with it all. You know, and when it did happen, when I was able to get acting, and I started when I was 10 years old. Wow, did I appreciate it? Yeah. Wow, did I? And I was ready to work at 10. Like I was ready.
And boy, do kids, that's what they want, Diane, is somebody that will listen, right? I mean, that to you had to mean the world, right? I mean, you could have had, I mean, how many times we read about these people who have, you know, all this money, and the parents are never to be seen. I mean, for a kid growing up, especially in your position, you must, I mean, these, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but these must have been your icons, right? I mean, these people listen to you. Like, that's huge.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was very close to my parents. And I will say that, like, you know, also, I was very fortunate, and I'm not saying that everything is always great at home. Right. But I was fortunate that I didn't have to deal with my parents divorcing, which I think it can work in two ways. Your parents divorce, it can absorb you, you know, and you can, you know, kind of lose yourself in the whole anger of it, or you can use that to spur you and go, you know what? I'm going to go and do my life now. You know, like you suddenly wake up and go, you know what? I'm going after what I want to do now. So I think any kind of difficulty in life we can take and we can work with. And in my case, my parents listened to me, I think because they were older and they were in a phase in their life where they never had any dreams about what I was going to do. Like they never said to me, you know, like they never were like, you're going to be a lawyer, or, you know, when you grow up, like, or don't do that. They never had any judgment of what I did. They wanted me to be happy. And in fact, my mom used to say to me, never lose your happiness. Because I think she, as a mom, saw my happiness and went, oh, like, don't lose that, because it was so unusual, you know, to carry your happiness with you, you know. And I think that is really a piece of good advice for people. Don't rely on your happiness from other people. You will be sadly disappointed over and over again. Carry your happiness with you, you know. And I don't think that's easy. And I don't think that's a given. And I think that especially people in tragedy, maybe they understand how valuable it is. So anyway, oh, by the way, I do want to mention something that is fascinating to me. And this is because I was first born, I'm the first generation in America from my parents, even though I'm younger, like, you know, one thing that I really noticed is, to me, being in America was an opportunity, and it was a chance. And it was, I was like, okay, I've got all these resources, which, by the way, was not the internet. That does not exist. but I was like, I'm in America, so anything can happen. Dreams can happen. That was how I was introduced, because my parents were immigrants, and that's like how they saw America. What I have discovered is there are a lot of people who are from America, like they may be second or third generation, they're here, and they see America more as their right. I have the right to have a career or a home or a job or a spouse. So there's a right to it, an entitlement. And all I can tell you is that's a very difficult way to go through life, when you feel like something's your right and then you don't get it.
Yes.
So I think it's good to think about that opportunity is a more helpful attitude than your right, because you have to go after what you want in this country for yourself. So anyway,
Diane, you're right. It's kind of a poisonous mindset to have that attitude.
Yeah.
Like I deserve this, or I'm entitled to that. Yeah, it's a very dangerous way. You're right, to go through life.
It's coming from I don't have. It's coming from like the negative part, as opposed to like I have to go get it. Like, you know what it is? It's lack of control. If I tell you you have to do something to get it, you have control of the situation and you go and get it. But if I say to you, you don't have, you know, this is not yours, what can you do? You already don't have it. I mean, you're coming from in the red, you're in the negative. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So there's a lack of control. And I believe that in life, we have a lot more control of our destiny than we maybe allow ourselves. It's ahead.
Yeah. That's really well said. Did your parents, one or both, live long enough to see your success, how you flourished?
Oh my goodness, what a great question. Not a great question. All right. Yes, they did.
That's awesome.
To a certain extent, they did. And I have to say, you know what that was? Well, they saw my children, right? That's my biggest success, you know. But I mean, they saw my father saw both my daughter and my son. My mother, unfortunately, only saw my daughter, but that was my biggest success. Next biggest success, my career. Yes, they did. And I will say this is one of the coolest experience I had with my parents about the entertainment business. And I wonder, like, I wonder how other actors have this with their parents, because I don't know if this is something a lot of, you know, I must be at least with one parent that a child feels they want to share their success with their parent. But what happened was, once when I was in my 20s, I got a TV pilot called Too Good to Be True, and it was for ABC. Mm-hmm. And they put me up at a hotel on Avenue of the Stars. And I mean, I was 20. It was unbelievable. It was a TV show, and we were shooting actually down. There was like sort of a tunnel thing that led to the soundstage. And I made enough money to fly my parents out. and pick them up in a limousine.
Wow.
And have them stay at the hotel. And I remember I was so proud of that because I was so proud that I could give back to them something cool, like a cool experience. And they were very happy, but they were very humble. They were like, "Well, what is happening now?" Okay, we're going to, look at Diane. And so that was very fun. So there's like a couple of things like that where that was very meaningful to me that my parents could see that. Yeah, and I was very fortunate because, again, look, it's not a given that the people who helped you get your career get to see it or get a reward from it. So anyway.
Yeah, and you mentioned your own children. They are both very successful in their own way. So, I mean, did you find growing when they were growing up, when they find out what mom does for a living, did they, I don't want to say pick your brain because that really sounds informal, but did they ask a lot of questions? Did they try to get to know mom more on the professional side?
Not at all. Not one bit. Okay, that is a great story, which inspired me to write my books, which is because I'm mom. If you're an actor and you're a mom, you are mom. That comes first, okay? I don't care how many movies you did, commercials, television. You might be the most famous person in the world. You are mom. And moms have a whole different category of being judged on, which is really funny. I mean, my kids, what they love about me as a mom is that I am hilarious with them. Like I do crazy things with them. I will just do the kookiest things for them. I remember my daughter was shooting a movie and I squashed in the front of the dashboard to hold the camera for her while she was shooting a scene, and she was like, I don't know, 12 or something, she was like in the car and I'm squashed, also like just so many, like my son, carrying, he was in 12 or 13 in middle school, carrying his double bass across the parking lot. And I'm little, okay? But like carrying this massive double bass, a giant bass, just things where I think any mom would, who appreciates their kids is going to do the kooky things, just like do the things that are memorable to your kids. So in answer to that, no, they didn't even really realize I was an actress until probably they were like, I don't know, at 9, 10, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10. I don't know. There were moments like I'd get recognized and they'd be like, who is that? And then my husband would be like, oh, they recognize your mom. Like, I don't think they even understood what that meant, or there'd be, there was something else. Oh yeah. Like I remember when they learned to ski and I actually showed them Better Off Dead because I was like, oh, you've got to see the skiing in this movie because now they are skiing. So it made sense. Right. So, they were like, wait, you're in this movie. So there were moments in my life where it came up, but it was not introduced in a way that I was mom first. Right. That's all I can say. Then I became the actress. And now today in their 20s, they really get it. Like what's happened now is people will come up to them and go like, they'll be like, maybe a teacher will come up and say, my teacher wants your autograph, or like, oh my God, so-and-so just said they're in love with you. I'm like,
That's fantastic.
And I'm like, what is happening? So, fun, like crazy. Yeah, and I never assumed this, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned your work as an author, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. The Diane Franklin, The Excellent Adventures of the Last American French Exchange Babe of the 80s. What an awesome title. Can I ask you something about being an author? Do you find that when you reflect, Diane, when you look back at your life, is it, I don't want to say therapy, but do you find that it brings a string of emotions, both happy and sad, because you're looking back at your life, you're looking back at some of the best times of your life? I mean, in your case, you're an actor. If I was to do it in my own life or anybody in their own lives, I would get a feeling that it brings back a plethora of emotions, right? All ranging on the scale from top to bottom. Is that what it's like for you being an author?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It was interesting when I wrote my first book, which is The Excellent Adventures of the Last American French Exchange Babe of the 80s. When I first wrote that, the first thing was I just had to like go. The first feeling I had was, oh my gosh, I have done so much work. Like I didn't even realize it until I started gathering information and facts. And so that was the first emotion I had, which was, wow, like I did so much. And also like the idea and understanding of, oh my gosh, I was like a tiny baby, like emotionally, like I was little tiny, like experiencing it as at 10 years old, I didn't feel young. I felt very, present, but I think as, when you go older, you look back and you go, oh, wow, I was just tiny. Like I was a baby. Like even, with Amityville, I was 20 years old and I look at the pictures and I look like I'm 13. I'm just, that blows me away. So that was definitely something about that book. The interesting part about that book was after I wrote it, all of a sudden other memories came back and I was like, wait a minute. Now I started remembering the struggle I had with having curly hair and not being able to get work from it. And also seeing how people have not, are in the world today with the, transgender and the, LBGQ, sort of being able to have opportunities and just the struggle to be acknowledged, it all of a sudden hit. And so when I was writing after I finished the first book, I went, oh my gosh, I have to write a book about this because it's real. And I need to back those people who feel ignored in society and let them know, well, just the world will focus on a certain popularity or brand or trend, and it will have its time. But then it will move on to a new trend. So for me, it was like all that straight hair thing. And then suddenly having curly hair and not getting work because I had curly hair and then getting work because I had curly hair was a huge realization. So when you're saying about writing a book, things do come to you. And also now, like I'm writing a Better Off Dead book. So
very cool.
Is bringing back such fun memories. And I'm really getting to relax and re-enjoy that experience.
Speaking of your hair, I would wager a large amount of money that your hair started a trend in the 80s. And I know I read that online. I would bet a large amount of money that is fact.
It is fact. And, so this is the interesting part. Obviously, I wasn't the first person with curly hair. Okay, right. Obviously, that's like a given. But I was the first actress, and even like Amy Irving, who I was the girl who was with the curly hair, who was looking for where are the role models? Where's that teenager with curly hair? And Amy Irving was playing a teenager, but she was already she was the closest you got. But even then, when she did Carrie, she wasn't the girl you wanted to be in the movie. She was maybe kind of the bad girl. It was like, where is that girl who you want to be like with curly hair? Where's that dream girl? And Last American Virgin was the part. And I honestly was the first girl that was the dream girl. Like you wanted to be her as a teenager with curly hair. It was not happening. And the minute I hit with that film, it exploded. I'm telling you, I saw it. And in fact, I even wrote about it in the 80s where like press kits and stuff. So I really wanted to make sure I wrote a book about that because I wanted people to know that it was, sometimes as a kid, you're like, oh, like I'm just not unattractive, or I'm just the frumpy kid. But you realize so much of it is publicity and it's the trends that are being pushed. It's not you, and that's why it's really important for young people to understand you are beautiful. Just no one's talking about it right now. It's not your time. But you know what will make you beautiful? Confidence. Right. So if you have a look that's unusual, but you rock it with confidence, people, I'm telling you, it will become hot. Seriously. Okay. I'm telling you. So if you want to suddenly be like beautiful, honestly, confidence is it. And that starts with you appreciating your own beauty or what you like about yourself. Look for your good qualities and then rock it. Eyebrows, hair, body type, height, whatever, rock it. And you will find that you attract energy of people to you. That's how you attract people. So
yeah, and you know what? And you probably answered this in your answer. You bring up a great point that I never really thought of. Like your hair and you yourself were just very unique and original. All those quote unquote dream girls we're talking about, I feel like they all look like each other. With all due respect, they're all great. They're wonderful actors. But it was like that heavy metal band, the 80s hair. Everyone had it, know. But your look was different. Your look was a breath of fresh air. It was something that people could maybe relate to a little more, I think. I don't know. Maybe that's...
I thank you. I mean, I have to say, I appreciate that. I think everybody, everyone tries to just stand out in some way. I think looking back at Last American Virgin, obviously, it was me, but they made me look so beautiful with the lighting and Boaz and the directing. And so, it's just like Instagram, all girls go on Instagram and go, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. They don't think that person doctored up the picture, that they may have done, editing. I mean, they don't think about that. They just look at that picture and they want to believe that this person's perfect. And guarantee you they're not.
Yeah.
I guarantee everyone's got something going on. And we have to stop putting our stock into believing that other people have it way easier and everything than you do. Focus on your own life, bring goodness to your life. Focus on you, And I'm going to take this even one step further. So many people ignore their bodies. Look, I understand ignoring your body. I don't I love food. And certainly when you have children, boy, you are ignoring your body because you are so into your kids. Like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. I got to do that. As an actor, you need to take care of your body. So certainly for me, you got to watch what you eat. You got to exercise. It's part of your job. Right. You don't make money unless you take care of yourself physically. Maybe some roles you have to be thinner. Some roles you may be a little thicker. But you got to be, it's part of it. It's like not even it's part of your job. So it was fascinating to me now when I see America going we have to get kids healthy and we have to get adults healthy and we have to people have to stop eating fast food and stuff. And I'm thinking, wow, there are people who have just been ignoring their body. They just never even wanted to look down. And I say to them, life is long. So invest in your own health and your own body, invest in it, because now as I'm older, I'm going, wow, I'm really glad that I took care of myself health wise. And believe me, it wasn't fun. It's exhausting. Yeah. And I'm not saying you do it every day, but exercise, move that body, dance, do yoga, whatever, do something, because that is going to be your best benefit as you get older. And so I'm really, I'm just saying, there's a benefit as an actor. I can give you that advice. Look at your body. I don't care where it's at. Take care of it somehow. Improve one thing about it. Maybe, don't do alcohol, or maybe for one thing, just slowly, or maybe every day do sit-ups or push-ups. Give you do 10, do 15, but do something, and because you're going to have it for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
anyway.
Get the ball rolling. Great advice. What's your take?
Don't ignore it because it's still there.
Yeah.
It's not going to go away. And don't get all into mine isn't good. Well, yeah, if it isn't, it's because you've been ignoring it. So it's going to get better if you pay attention to it and you care for it. All right.
Yes. So you remind me, you brought up actors, and you definitely have to be careful of what's your take on those actors, maybe Christian Bale comes to mind, Matt Damon, where they're adding 50 pounds for a role, taking away, the extreme, going to extremes one way or the other. That can be a bit dangerous, don't you think, Diane? I mean, you got me thinking.
I got to tell you something. If it's fun to the actor, I say go for it. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, actors are creative. It's so cool to be able to go, you know what? I'm embodying them, and they're taking the body to play character. Yeah, no, I say go for it. But obviously, it's like your body then reflects what you're doing and what you're playing. But you have to be, when people do that like that, they are very self-disciplined in nature.
Right.
And so I would say if you have to be very disciplined in self-disciplined to do something like that. I think if they love it and they can make it happen, I think that's great. But they have to have the self-control, gain the weight, lose the weight, build muscle, don't build muscle. I think that that's my feeling about it. It has to be, they have to have the ability to, in their mind, create the character to the best ability. And to them, that might be what they enjoy about their acting. So I back that. I don't think it's dangerous because they do it in ways that are not dangerous. I mean, they do it with thoughtfully. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
They know when they have to work. They know how much time they have to do it. So it's just like learning a dialect, you know, or learning physical behavior of your character, how they walk, how they move. So
yeah, and before we touch into your filmography, I have one quick question. I told you off air that I just your rapport with fans, the way you treat people, is really exemplary. But they had Boston Comic-Con right down the street from my house. Spiking, I cover cons for the podcast. I didn't go because there's a spike in COVID, and there's a few reasons I didn't go. And I was looking at some of these photo ops, Diane, and it was like, there was plexiglass between, and I get why. I mean, I'm not saying but there was just something really just not right about, when people go to a Comic-Con, they love meeting their idols, right? They love meeting the people that changed their lives. It's a huge part of it, right? It's when you contact. Yes. So when you see a huge plexiglass in the middle of an actor and a fan, I get why, but it takes some of that sincerity and what makes Comic-Cons great. I don't know. It takes it away. But
that's interesting.
But are you still going to plan on Comic-Cons, because you really I think we talked about you touch a lot of different areas: horror, comedy, 80s, vintage. I mean, we can go on and on. Once this clears, do you think you'll be back in that Comic-Con mode?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So here's, first of all, I want to say this is very interesting. I'm glad you told me this. First of all, I'd love to come to Boston. Haven't been there for a Comic-Con. So if you tell them you want me, please, I'd love to come and visit.
It's a great con. I wasn't trying to say anything bad about the con. You'd love it.
The deal with getting me to a con is that they have to hear from the patrons. So the people who want you there, like, I can't ask to come there. They have to hear it from you guys and say, I want Diane Franklin here. And then they go, oh, well, so whatever you are who's listening to this, ask the con to bring the actors that you want, and they'll, then therefore ask. So, okay, the first thing is, I'm curious, when did this con happen that you're talking about?
Last weekend.
Oh, okay. So here's a very interesting thing. All right. So obviously COVID, crazy, right? We're all going through this.
Yep.
I've gotten vaccinated, and ever since I got vaccinated, bit by bit, I've been sort of testing my ability to go out to things. But what I've always done is listen, people, KN95 mask. Mm-hmm. Always. Okay. That's my thing. Okay. So I actually was asked to do a convention in August, and I went, and I considered also having that plastic shield. But then I thought, I thought it definitely would be weird to have that plastic shield. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to take this upon myself. I will wear my mask the whole time, and the minute we take a picture, I'll take it off. So I didn't even, then I found out, luckily, that it was mandated that everyone had to come into the convention wearing a mask, and they were limiting the amount of people in the room. So I was taking a chance. But I have to tell you, when I just did, last July, 2020, I did a movie, called Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman. Mm-hmm. And that was the first film that got the go-ahead to be shooting when we were in the most, like, we had just come out of lockdown and there was no vaccine.
Wow.
So because I had done that, and again, very careful, I felt like it was kind of funny, but I was like, okay, I'll be the guinea pig. I'll go and I'll try, because I'm older and I don't have the best, I have some medical things that I don't have the strongest immunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, I'm just going to take this bit by bit. So when I went to that convention in August, I would go in, do my thing, meet people, talk to them, but I kept my mask on. And that's what I did. And, I was I felt good every night. I would, take all my vitamins and you know what I mean? I cleared out my nose and, all that stuff that we all try to do that we think is going to help it. But I was vaccinated. So, afterwards I came home, and I had to quarantine, and my husband's like, oh my gosh, he's like, don't come near me. And I was like, okay. It's that whole thing of that routine of stay isolated and, hang out and wait till you're done. And I had no COVID. And that was shocking because I was like, if you're going to get it, you're going to get it at a convention. The convention was in Virginia. So my thought is, yes, I do agree with you. And now based on that experience, and I also had, since then I had to do a music video, and I had to do, there was something else. There was a concert I had to, for someone I had to go to. And so there were a bunch of events that I had to do, and all with my mask, nothing. And I even was alerted from one of the experiences I went, oh, you were around somebody who had COVID, and I never got it. So very slowly I said, okay, I will go to a convention in Florida.
Oh.
So I am going to go, all right, to Florida in October, early October. But my feeling was that if it got bad, it would hit worse before I got to Florida. So, and then after that, I'm supposed to go to one in Mexico. So I'm like the guinea pig. I'm going out there. But I do strongly believe, just because it's worked for me,
right, that
the K95 mask absolutely works, because no matter who's around me, I'm protecting myself.
Right.
And that's all I can be responsible. That's all I can do. I can't ask other people to put it on or off. But I did hear just recently, thank goodness, that the convention that I'm going to, called Phantasm, masks are required.
Good.
So I went, great. That's just great.
Yeah.
So that is my answer to that. Yes, conventions right now have suffered. I am not doing the conventions to tell anyone, don't. To tell anyone, oh, there's nothing to worry about. I do think you have to be hyper vigilant. You just have to go and you have to say, you know what? This is like I'm in a show. I'm putting on my costume, which is my mask.
Yep.
I'm meeting all the people, and then I, go to my room. So anyway, I hope that answers your question.
No, it's a really great answer too, because I feel ridiculous in a way, because I'm kind of looking at it selfishly from a fan's point of view, but I also get why certain actors want the mask and what you said is really on point. I wanted to ask you about The Last American Virgin and a couple of the other entries in your filmography. What really makes me mad, Diane, is that The Last American Virgin and Better Off Dead are not available on iTunes or any streaming service. Either you buy them on DVD or some shady website that has downloaded them on the internet. It's insane, because these are the two most underappreciated movies, but yet people who've seen them love them to no end. So, I just feel like I know there's reasons. Wow. There's reasons for this. I didn't
even realize that. It's becoming very boutique, very hard to get. I think it is interesting because it might be because, first of all, maybe the people who are distributing the DVDs are going to now get the profit. I think the competition in streaming probably is very high, because there's only so many hours in a day, and, people want to, everybody wants their space. But a
movie like Last American Virgin should not be hidden. It should be put out there for everyone to enjoy. This was a great movie coming. I'm probably underselling it too. It's like, I see some of the stuff that they stream on. Granted, some of the stuff is spectacular, Diane, but some of the stuff is like, really?
Yes, absolutely. And you see big actors and you're like, really? I completely agree with you. You see big actors and their names are supposed to get you to watch it. And then you go, oh, wow, that was not not what I thought it was going to be. So, I don't know the answer to that. I am surprised Better Off Dead is not streaming. I thought for some reason that, somebody bought Better Off Dead, MGM or...
Yeah, sometimes there's underlying reasons that they don't make public. You're right. So there's like, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there are like things that...
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's reasons that like we don't hear, the public doesn't hear, but there's, like you said, somebody buys the movie, sometimes they put it on the shelf for a while, or I don't know, the movie came out in 82, there's, people need to appreciate. I mean, this is movie history. This is stuff that people should be watching. I mean, why are you, like, I can go on the internet and watch it with crap. I mean, I own both on DVD, but like, I would buy them I would totally buy each of them on iTunes. Absolutely, I would.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, my guess is that they're holding, the space is being held out for the more popular movies. Who knows if people are paying each other to, show their movies or whatever. But there's another thing too. And I know that like sometimes they hold a movie and then they wait and then they suddenly bring it out again, because someone's now purchased the rights or something like that. So, it's really interesting. Or someone decides we're going to do, Blu-ray, like special features or something. Mm-hmm. But so that's why I'm writing my Better Off Dead book, because that film has so many fans. I was like, I have to write something, that celebrates it. And it's interesting because as I'm writing it, I have to kind of, I'm not a film critic, I'm writing it from the perspective of an actor in the film, but I'm writing it from someone who loves the film and enjoys and loves the fans who love it. Right. So that's kind of where it is. It's coming from. And so I and it's great. And, Savage Steve Holland, he adores the movie because it was his first. And so he's written some great things for it. So I'm excited for everyone to see it.
Very underrated director. But my last question about Last American Virgin is you broke probably 90% of the hearts of males in the U.S. Cue the James Ingram music. I had 2 weeks ago, I had Courtney Gaines on the podcast. He was in Can't Buy Me Love, right? That movie ends with Patrick Dempsey riding off in the sunset with I think it's Amanda. I can't remember.
Amanda
Peterson.
Right.
Yeah, so the riding off in the sunset. The Last American Virgin couldn't be more of an opposite ending, right? But let me say this. It's the ending that's more authentic. Because I remember getting my heart broken, maybe not in that fashion, but pretty darn close, right? I mean, that is real. That is authentic. That's what makes this movie so freaking great. That's what it's a movie. What you see is what you get, and that's what we all lived as a
reality.
male. Yes, it's reality. Yes.
Not to say that's all reality, but that reality exists also.
Yes,
that's the thing. And I think that is, I always say, like, look, Virgin, we wouldn't probably be talking about the movie if it didn't have that ending, because it makes it such a standout film, even today. And what's amazing is I don't know if any other film really done that ending since.
Right. And I have never seen an ending, especially in the 80s.
Listen to this. Yeah, let me know, because I don't know if any movie ever ended on a downer note. And by the way, again, I've always said Last American Virgin, the word American, there's a connotation of we have happy endings.
Right.
And that movie, it doesn't, we go, oh, it's an American ending, and it's not a happy ending. And suddenly we go, that really hits home, on a deeper, it's on a relationship level. It's on what your expectation is. And it's on, there's no moral to this story. What? So, and
the look that Karen gives, it's just like, she's upset, but it's like, I made my choice, like, deal with it. But let me ask you, if the choice was up to you, would you have gone with the same ending, or would you have ended it differently?
Oh, well, as a 19-year-old, the minute I got the script, I'm like, oh, they're going to change the ending, right?
Right.
They're going to make it a happy ending, right? We're going to, because all of us, all the cast, Kimmy Robertson, Lawrence Monason, Steve Anton, Joe Rubo, we're all like, you're going to change the ending, right? Boaz, we need a happy ending here. That's what we are all used to. And when he said no, we were like, oh, like he said no, because this is based on my true life. This is my life, and this is what's happened to me, and so no. And I wish I had $1 for every person he said that to, because all the years I've known Boaz, everybody says this to him. And he's like, no, it's my life. It had really happened to me. We have to be in the real moment. And I just think it is the lack of closure that makes this movie stay in our radar. And I really hope the next, for years and years, there will be access to this film, and it'll make some great college papers, and and it'll bring discussion, I think, hopefully.
But do you think that's why? Do you think that's why Better Off Dead and Last American Virgin works well? Because both directors were going off of life experience.
Exactly. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Both Better Off Dead and Last American Virgin were writer-directors.
Yes.
Who wrote about their true life story. Obviously stylized or somewhat embellished in different styles. But they absolutely had that in common, and but it's what makes it. I think it's what gives it heart, and I think that's what brings the audience back. And certainly, as an actress, made it much more powerful and exciting for me to act because it was based on truth.
Yeah, and I think everyone that I grew up with, Better Off Dead is in their top 5 list to come out of the 80s. I mean, everyone can relate to this. You're asked about this movie so much. John Cusack, and you are so wonderful on screen. I mean, it just works for so many reasons. And and this is what gets me, I hate to go back to this, but it gets me so angry. It's like having I'm probably being over the top here, but it's like having a museum and hiding all the artifacts so nobody can appreciate them. Like, this needs to be appreciated by the next generation and the one after that. I'm sick of, I don't know. I'm venting here, but like we rewatch.
No, you're right on. I mean, I know a lot of people are very frustrated, too. I agree. I had no idea. Obviously, it's not readily available to people. But that's why I keep putting stuff out, because it does remind people, like on my Instagram, I'll post pictures from the films and things I've done, because people go, oh yeah, I remember that. Or, oh wow, what is that? And it's fun, it's popular. It's pop culture.
Yes. 3 last questions for you. I'm going to throw 3 names at you. You say whatever you want about them. Keanu Reeves is Bill. For those listening, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You're so wonderful in that, as was he. He strikes me as what you see is what you get. Absolute gentleman, wonderful human being. Am I close to reality on that?
I have to say, I don't know. I have no comment. I liked working with him when I worked with him.
Yep.
It was very fun to have a kissing scene. But it's interesting. I have to say no comment to that. I really don't. I haven't spoken to him. Alex, I can say, is an awesome guy for sure.
Alex Winter, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I've seen Alex. He's wonderful. Good guy. So yeah, that's where I go. Yeah, for sure.
And I can't leave this next guy out. This guy, when I say his name, I feel like my heart just gets warmth. He's such a good human being. Burt Young.
Oh, I love Burt.
Yeah.
I love Burt. I love him. Burt's awesome. Burt is sweet and funny and heartfelt and a brilliant actor. He's just a great guy. And I'm really happy that I was able to work with him again in Amityville Murders, the film. We have a scene together. And if you see that scene, it is real time. I mean, it's real, like it's just, we hadn't worked together for years. And so I just feel I always have a soft spot for Burt. He's awesome. So I want to end the interview talking about when you think the book might be released, but I want to end by asking you about John Cusack. Good.
And let's end with your book release date, because I have some reading to do, and I from looking at everything you've put out, just phenomenal stuff. I'll let you take it from here, Diane.
John, I hope you're listening. You probably aren't, but I want to do another movie with you. And I wish we could do Better Off Dead. I even asked Steve if he would write a Better Off Dead grown up. Amanda's in, Savage is like, I'm thinking about how to do it. But that would have been amazing. And John, I just think John is right. I mean, I don't think John wanted to take the direction of a, silly, I don't know. I mean, he did Hot Tub Time Machine, so whatever. But I wish that we could do well, first of all, John is very, very sweet, very nice. But I know he's very political right now, and I just wish that we could just put all the politics aside and just do a Q&A together about Better Off Dead. I just wish that was possible, because I think that would be so nice for the audience. I think the audiences would really appreciate us being together on a Q&A. So who knows? But I'm just going to say John's a good guy, and he's a talented guy, and I don't know. We'll see.
And Savage Steve Holland is very, very underrated.
Savage is really absolutely underrated, because I'm going to say to you this: what filmmaker had the talent and the ability to put claymation and animation in a film that wasn't about claymation and animation?
In the 80s, nonetheless, Diane. In the 80s, when it wasn't like, it was a hard thing to do. It was much harder than it is today.
Yes, and it was a fun film without any nudity or bad language, or do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It used to be that brought people out of their homes and into the theaters, but that film, people just saw it, watched it because it was funny. People watched it over and over again because it was funny, and actors chose to be in there. I can't tell you how many actors tried to get into Better Off Dead because they were so impressed with the material. They were like, "Oh, I'll be in it. I'll be in it." Vincent Schiavelli, that's a major actor there. He wanted to be in the film because he thought it was genuinely funny. So when actors think it's good, then it's really good.
Any idea on a book release date? I know it sounds like you're still writing it, putting things together.
I'm determined to get it out by my birthday, February 11th. So I'm going to just say that as my tentative, but I'm really determined to do it because I'm running into a couple of snags, but that's my goal. I want to get it out by my birthday. So tentatively, that date.
Diane,
February 11th.
You are the best. I hope our paths cross again, whether it's at a Comic-Con or another interview. You are really what you see is what you get, and that is very much appreciated. And thank you for everything you've done for me as a fan. I cannot thank you enough.
Merci buckets. Merci. Very nice. It's very nice for you to say this. And remember, French fries, French bread, and Peru.
Diane, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Derek Thomas and Monday Morning Critic Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, you can also connect with Monday Morning Critic on Instagram and Facebook, MDM Critic on Twitter, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found. All episodes available, www.mmcpodcast.com.